Next question. I'm a Kentucky trooper, and I'm an instructor at our academy, the police academy.
Mm-hmm.
We lost 3 guys last year. Could you discuss how to deal with training these guys as hard as you can, and they still lose their lives while working? So, as far as dealing with people and letting them know that, that this goes down, how do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, I get a lot of feedback from police officers out there in the world. And if I would say one thing to them to lead this off is thank you for what you do. You guys have a dangerous job. It's intense. It's thankless most of the time. And you're dealing with the dregs of society all day long. And then you have to balance that with dealing with normal civilians and citizens. So, thank you for what you guys do. And also, I'll throw on top of that, firefighters, paramedics. Thank you guys for what you do. And again, thankless job, difficult job, dangerous job, where you're helping people that don't want to help themselves in many cases. So thanks for everybody. Thanks for all those first responders for what you guys do. Yeah. Now, as far as training guys hard, and then you still get guys that get killed, bless them. But let me ask you this, what is the alternative? Mm-hmm. Right? What are you going to do? Not train hard?
Right.
I had the first SEALs that were killed in Iraq were killed under my command. They were my guys. Mark Lee, Mikey Mansour, and Ryan Job. And we trained as hard as possible. And we still took those casualties. I'm telling you, we trained as hard as possible. And it wasn't for lack of training or lack of planning or lack of skill. It's the nature of combat. It's the risk of conducting operations in a hostile environment. And I'll tell you what, when I got back to America and I took over the training for the West Coast SEAL teams, that fact of losing my guys in combat, it made me fanatical about training. And I was already fanatical about training, but it multiplied it infinitely. Because it now became my mission to prepare these guys to the absolute best of my ability and get them ready for combat. And part of that preparation was making them understand what was at risk. And I think that's something that you should do here. You don't know what's going to happen when you go into the field, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So everything you do should be to prepare yourself mentally and physically for the moment of truth, whether that happens at a traffic stop or while you're serving a warrant or while you're stopping a bank robbery. You don't know when it is going to happen. And so you got to tell these guys, tell them the truth of the danger and let it sink in and hound on it. And I tell this story from time to time. It's not even a story, it's a statement. And it's because I remember this feeling. And it was when I got back from Ramadi. And we'd be doing urban training. And I would see a guy like standing in the middle of the street, which is not a good move, right? Mm-hmm. That's where bullets fly down. You're going to get shot when you're standing in the middle of the street. And it happened all the time to guys in Ramadi. And I would see a guy that would be standing in the street, and I would literally feel sick. It was only for about maybe 6 to 9 months after I got back when I'd go out to these training sites. I would feel sick to my stomach. I would just feel this horrible feeling because it was like I was waiting for something I was waiting for him to get shot. And it felt horrible. And my goal was to transfer that feeling into their heads. I wanted them to feel sick. I wanted them to feel embarrassed and feel guilty and feel angry and feel disappointed that they were doing something wrong because I wanted them to change their behavior, which would keep them alive. So I would say in this case, you're putting people through training, valuable training. And of course, they're still going to go out and do a dangerous job. But you don't back off the training. You train harder. And you use these guys, again, God bless them. You use these guys that were killed in action as an example of, hey guys, this is why we're training hard. This is why we're going to push. This is why I want you to take personal responsibility for yourself and for your training and for your skill set so that you're ready. You train how you fight, and you fight how you train. So take advantage of that and be ready.
Yeah, and a lot of times that pain of, any kind of fail. In this case, this is an extreme case, losing your guys. You guys are going through these extreme cases. And that, so there's a spectrum of cases, but any kind of failure or mishap that causes any kind of pain, you can, and it's not easy, but you can use that pain to facilitate your passion in a corrective way. Like how you say, train harder. You can take that pain and literally focus on good ways of training hard, being attached to the results of training or the process of training.
Yeah.
You can use that pain, to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. You get a guy that's an MMA fighter that loses to a submission hold.
Right.
You take that and you say, okay, bud,
exactly, yeah.
You got to work that jiu-jitsu. You take a guy that gets his legs kicked out from underneath him. Okay, you got to work your Muay Thai. So you take those painful training experiences and you put them, like you said, you put them to work. Absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of times that'll come naturally. A lot of times, but it doesn't always. So in those cases, you can just actively and consciously take that pain, and redirect it. You can do it. You can do that fully, even if it doesn't come natural, and it helps.